Hello and welcome to my kitchen. My name is Mich Turner and I'm going to take you through a series of bakes from my new book, Everyday Bakes to Showstopper Cakes. The idea is that you can master the everyday, make the most delicious cakes that you can enjoy every day, and then with a few simple steps improve your skills to turn that into the ultimate showstopper. And what's nicer than that lovely, luscious lemon meringue cake? I'm going to show you how to make these gorgeous cupcakes as your everyday cake, a really lovely buttery lemon cake filled with lovely lemon curd and topped with an Italian meringue, and then how to turn it from a few simple steps into this amazing showstopper. It's a layered cake, it has Italian meringue, it has lemon curd, it has gorgeous lemon cake, and it's dressed with fresh berries.
Start by putting your softened butter into a desktop mixer and add the caster sugar. Cream these together until they're really light and fluffy. In a separate jug, crack the eggs and whisk these together with a hand whisk and then pour them very, very slowly into the creamed mixture. Take the lemons and using a microplane, zest these so you just have the very fine zest of the lemons to flavour your cakes. Once the cake is creamed, take it out of the mixer and add in the lemon zest. Using a rubber blade spatula, stir this carefully into the mixture to blend the flavour. Sift in the flour so that it's nicely aerated and then fold this in carefully. You're going to want to add enough milk to give a dropping consistency, and when this is ready, you can take your cupcake cups and deposit them using a set of scales and a bag to ensure that every cup has exactly the right amount. Place these in a preheated oven at 170 degrees Celsius for 20 to 25 minutes. When they come out, they should be nicely risen, golden, brown, even, and a knife inserted in the centre of each should come out clean. Remove the cupcakes from the oven and position them on a wire tray separated so that they have time and space to cool and then chill them before filling them. And that's your lemon cupcake. If you're making the layer cake, follow the same method for the recipe and then deposit the batter evenly between 3 8-inch round sandwich tins that have been lined with baking paper. Smooth the batter with the back of a spoon and then place in the oven for 20 to 25 minutes. Leave enough space for the cakes to have air to move around them. When they're baked, they should be nicely golden brown, risen, and a knife inserted should come out clean. Remove the sandwich tins from the oven and leave them to cool on a wire rack. And those are your layer cakes.
Citrus curds are a wonderful way to deliver lots of flavour into your cakes, whether you're making cupcakes or layer cakes. The idea of adding a lemon curd, an orange curd, or even a passion fruit curd can be a wonderful way, and if you make them homemade, you actually see the ingredients that are going into them. Today we're going to be making a lemon curd. It's made with lemons, butter, sugar and eggs. And the idea is that once it's made, you can happily store it in the fridge for up to 14 days. So to start with, I'm going to put some sugar into my saucepan. To that, I'm going to add some butter. And the idea of this is it's all made in one saucepan, and then once it's heated, we sieve it. I'm going to add lemons, and for this, can you see I'm zesting the lemons. And I'm going to do this to 6 lemons, so the whole part of that outer zest, without the pith, goes into the saucepan.
Using a vegetable peeler makes this task much more simple. Cut the lemons in half and juice each of these straight into the saucepan. You'll get those wonderful flavours and aromas of the gorgeous lemon zest.
And the final ingredient we're going to add are the fresh eggs. It's a good idea to beat these together first so that they're more homogeneous, which means one even liquid, so that it distributes evenly once it goes into the citrus curd. So what I want to do now is just heat that through on a medium heat, and the idea is that all of those ingredients will the butter will melt, the eggs will start to thicken as they cook by coagulating the proteins, and you'll create this lovely citrus curd. Now don't rush this point because you don't want to bring it up to the boil. The idea is that you heat it through, and as it warms through gently, so the eggs will cook through and it'll thicken and create a lovely citrus curd. You'll notice that as the curd starts to cook through, what will happen is it will go nice and loose and very shiny and translucent. That's as the butter is melted. And then you continue with this until the point then when the eggs start to thicken and it goes cloudier again, and you'll notice it becomes a lot thicker. The curd has really thickened now. It's enough to coat the back of the spoon The butter has melted, the sugar has dissolved, the eggs have thickened, and it's got that lovely infusion and the most wonderful aroma of lemons. So now, to get rid of all the pips and the peel, and if you have found that your egg white has started to cook at all, you simply pour that through the sieve. And there's our citrus curd. It's still going to be quite runny at this stage because it will thicken even more as it cools. So I'm going to decant that into our gorgeous, nostalgic Kilner jar. Let that come down to room temperature, seal it, and pop it in the fridge. The final element for our lemon meringue project is, of course, the wonderful meringue. I'm going to make an Italian meringue, so it has that wonderful, lovely, unctuous, creamy, velvety meringue that has no fat in it. The idea is that I'm going to use egg white, and then I'm going to create a hot, super hot sugar syrup that I pour over the egg white. So it naturally cooks the eggs, so it's lovely and stable and doesn't need any further cooking, but is super white. So I'm going to start with my egg white in the KitchenAid here, which will be ready to go once I get my ingredients here up to temperature. So in my pan, I have got white caster sugar, water, and then some of this, which is glucose syrup. Now this is an invert sugar, which means it's liquid at room temperature as opposed to a solid crystalline at room temperature. And the idea is that when I use a little bit of glucose syrup in with the stock sugar syrup, it will help the whole crystallization of the syrup to stay in solution, so that as I pour it into the meringue, rather than getting little gritty bits of sugar crystal in there, it'll stay lovely and wonderful and silky. So I've got the heat on. I'm going to heat that through now, and what I'm aiming to do here is to dissolve the sugar and the glucose syrup in the water that's in here, and I'm using a balloon whisk that has a little rubber spatula on the side there so I can keep it stirring. And you'll see that when I first start off here, the actual sugar solution itself is quite cloudy. Come and have a look. You see there, it's a sort of a thick, gloopy, kind of quite crystallized, granular sugar solution. And what will happen is, as this heats through, which is why I've got my thermometer right next to me, because this is, those of you who know me will know that I'm a food scientist. This is where I'm going to use a little bit of chemistry, because it's all about watching the temperatures. So I'm going to keep stirring this until the point where that sugar is starting to dissolve and heating through and beginning to go clearer. You'll see the temperature is coming up close to 80 degrees now, and the solution itself is beginning to clear, look much less grainy. It's much more sort of silky, syrupy. So I'm going to stop stirring and then just crank up that heat and watch it with the thermometer until it gets up to 110 degrees Celsius. You'll see as the temperature starts to increase, the sugar solution itself is now boiling. Make sure that stays properly on the heat. And it's up to 107, 108. When it gets to 110 degrees, I'm actually going to start turning the egg white on now to full speed. But I'm going to continue to heat this sugar solution until it reaches the magic temperature of 119 degrees. The temperature has got up to 118, 119 degrees. The sugar solution, the bubbles have reduced slightly. Come and have a look. So you'll see there is a bubble there is a boil, but it's a smaller bubble now. So that's the perfect temperature. I'm going to show you I'm right up to temperature on there, 15, 17, 18, 19. So that's good. So now that's going to come off the heat. You'll see my egg white is nice and fluffy. What I'm going to do now is continue to pour this syrup into the egg white with the whisk on full, being very careful because that is super hot. Just continue to drizzle that in until that syrup is nicely distributed amongst the whole of that egg white foam. Now that syrup has gone into the egg white, that's going to now cut through the eggs and become a lovely silky soft meringue. You'll find that that bowl is still now very hot because we've just poured that hot syrup over the egg white. So it's important to just leave that running, let the temperature come down, let the meringue thicken and become lovely and voluminous and shiny. The temperature of my meringue has now come back down to room temperature, and when I lift that up, look, come and have a look. You see how gorgeous and silky and firm this meringue is. There's no graininess to it, it's not granular, but look how that holds. That is the perfect Italian meringue. And now we're ready to put our lemon meringue cakes together. The hard part is done. We've baked our cakes, we've made the lemon curd, and we've made our Italian meringue. We're at the stage now where we get to put it all together. So I'm going to start with the cupcakes. These are our everyday bakes, and I've got the cakes here that have chilled down nicely, and I've placed them in the fridge so that they've firmed up, so it makes them easier to handle. And I'm going to use this nifty little gadget here, which is a cupcake corer. If you don't have this, you can use a small paring knife. But the idea is that I can come in onto the top of the cupcake here, drill down and around, lift, and the lump of cake comes out, the plug, which I can keep to one side, because I can use that without wasting it, either for myself, for a little tasty morsel, or to place back in on the top of the lemon curd, so it acts like a nice plug for the cake itself. So twist as you go in, because that will help to create a perfect cut, and circle all the way down, and then lift out that piece of cake. The hard part is done. We've baked our cakes, we've made the lemon curd, and we've made our Italian meringue. We're at the stage now where we get to put it all together. So I'm going to start with the cupcakes. These are our everyday bakes, and I've got the cakes here that have chilled down nicely, and I've placed them in the fridge so that they've firmed up, so it makes them easier to handle. And I'm going to use this nifty little gadget here, which is a cupcake corer. If you don't have this, you can use a small paring knife. But the idea is that I can come in onto the top of the cupcake here, drill down and around, lift, and the lump of cake comes out, the plug, which I can keep to one side, because I can use that without wasting it, either for myself, for a little tasty morsel, or to place back in on the top of the lemon curd, so it acts like a nice plug for the cake itself. So twist as you go in, because that will help to create a perfect cut, and circle all the way down, and then lift out that piece of cake. The plug's all removed. I'm now going to take a spoon and with our lovely citrusy lemon curd, spoon some generous spoonfuls into the middle of each of our cakes. Don't worry if it spills out a little bit on the top, because the whole element is going to be covered with the Italian meringue. Now this will really help to add the most wonderful lemony flavour to the cupcake, and at the same time give it that lovely hit of moistness, so it holds in that lovely flavour and is lovely and fresh and zesty. Now I'm going to put the plug of cake back on top of each one of those, and you'd be surprised at just how that goes back on top, and it sort of forces all that lovely citrus curd into the cake to make it lovely and moist. It means you're not losing any of the cake that you've baked. Make sure that the right top goes with the right base, and don't worry if it oozes out like that. As I say, it's going to be covered with gorgeous Italian meringue. Just press that down. Gives it a nice sort of lift of height, so that when you pipe the meringue on, you've got a natural dome in the cake itself. And now it's time to pipe the meringue. So for that, I'm going to take a piping bag, a large piping bag, and slip the end, and it's up to you whether you want to do a fluted nozzle, a round nozzle, a plain nozzle. I'm going to go for a nice kind of curly swirly. So in with my nozzle, and just make sure that you can see the teeth of the nozzle all the way around. If you can't quite, just pop it back up and just trim a little bit more. You can always take off a little bit more, but if you cut too much, it'll pop right through. So there we are. And then roll the bag down so you can hold it kind of like a nice cream cone, and then fill that piping bag with the Italian meringue. Now seal the top first so that it doesn't squeeze come out the top, and then gently bring it down. Make sure there's no air bubbles in that. So you now have a nice bag full of Italian meringue. Bring it to the end, finish it off. And now, to pipe your cupcakes, come closer so you can see how I'm going to do this. Because you want to start fairly close to yourself so that you can see what you're doing. And on that cupcake there, just pop that lid right the way down. I'm going to start in the centre, but go around to the outside, go all the way around, and then come in, up, and finish with a flourish. So again, round, up, and finish with a flourish. And the idea is that you're applying pressure as you go around, and you release the pressure as you come to the top, so that you cover the whole of that base of the cake. Giving yourself, fun in the kitchen, but at the same time improving your skills. Right, so that's our meringue all the way whipped up, and they look just gorgeous. So for the finishing touch, I'm going to get the blowtorch out. Take some of these lovely bright colourful straws, snip them down and then just pierce those into the cake. But if you've enjoyed making the everyday version, come and have a go at the Showstopper. This really is where the magic comes together. For the Showstopper cake, my 3 cakes have chilled in the fridge, so I'm going to build this together now on my cake stand. So I start with the first cake. Peel away the paper. I'll put that straight into position in the centre of my cake stand. I'm going to take some of the Italian meringue and just pipe a ring around the edge so it acts like a well on the cake and holds it all together. And then I'm going to fill the centre of that with the lemon curd. I can afford to be quite generous because it will soak into the cake. Give it that lovely, moist, zingy, tangy, citrusy, gorgeous flavour. And then repeat that with the next layer.
Place the second layer on top of the cake with the meringue and the curd, and then pipe another ring of meringue around the outside. Fill with the lemon curd, nice and generous, and then place the third layer on top. Use the excess meringue to pipe another ring around the outside and around the full width of the cake so that you can cover it completely in a crumb coat of meringue.
Once the cake has its crumb coat of meringue, and it needs to be sort of fairly thick on the top, but just barely on the sides, as long as it's straight and it's sort of lovely and held together. All the rest of the meringue you can put into a bag, piping bag with a 2D nozzle. This is going to be that sort of open flower. And then starting at the back, on the base here, you're going to start in the centre and you're going to go around, touch the bottom and come up on the side and create a ring of roses as you come around the base of the cake there with the meringue. And that's going to create that lovely circle of design.
Keep the motion fluid as you pipe the roses around the edge of the cake, and ensure that when you pipe that top ridge, it does create a lovely lip over the top in which that you can put the fruit. Take the blowtorch and gently colour and caramelise each of the swirls around the outside. It'll give definition to the texture and then finish on the top.
I'm going to fill the top of this cake with some gorgeous fresh seasonal berries. And there is your lemon meringue layer cake, the Showstopper for sure. For this recipe and for others, check out my book, Everyday Bakes to Showstopper Cakes.